You're shaving me? Dr. Yuna Park looked down at the man on the operating table. His shirt was soaked with blood. His shoulder had a bullet wound that needed immediate attention. And he was concerned about shaving? The wound is near your neck, she said, her voice steady and professional. I need a clear field. If you move, I'll cut you. The gun on the side table caught the fluorescent light. His men had placed it there. A reminder. A threat. It didn't scare her. She'd worked emergency trauma for 8 years. She'd seen gang members, politicians, criminals, and saints. They all bled the same. But the look in his eyes, that was different. Not pain. Not fear. Something else entirely. Curiosity. Like he just discovered something unexpected and couldn't look away. Most people are afraid of me, he said in Korean, his voice low despite the pain. Most people aren't trying to save your life, Yuna replied, reaching for the razor. Now hold still. She leaned closer. Close enough to smell expensive cologne mixed with gunpowder and blood. Close enough to see the scar above his left eyebrow. Close enough to feel his breath change rhythm. Her hands were steady. They always were. She'd shaved surgical sites 1,000 times. This was no different. Except it was. Because the moment she touched his skin, professional, clinical, necessary, his entire body went still in a way that had nothing to do with following instructions. And when she finished, when she stepped back to assess her work, he didn't say thank you. He said something worse. What's your name? That's not relevant to your treatment. Tell me anyway. Dr. Park. Your first name. Yuna met his eyes. Gray. Intense. Uncomfortably focused. You're losing blood. I suggest you save your energy for recovery instead of conversation. He smiled. Actually smiled. Despite the bullet wound. Despite the blood loss. I'll remember you, he said. And that was the exact moment the most dangerous man in Seoul decided he wasn't letting her go. If you're still watching right now, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Subscribe to our channel for stories that can make you smile, and can also make you cry for absolute strangers. Now, let's get into the story. It started 3 hours earlier. Yuna was on the night shift at Seoul National University Hospital. The emergency department was its usual chaos. Drunk college students, car accident victims, a man who'd superglued his hand to his face on a bet. She just finished stitching up a teenager who'd fallen off a skateboard when the call came. VIP incoming. GSW to the shoulder. ETA 5 minutes. Clear or 3 and lock down the surgical floor. Yuna looked up from her paperwork. Lockdown? The charge nurse, Mrs. Kim, lowered her voice. Private security requested it. Someone important. How important? The kind where we don't ask questions. Yuna had handled VIP patients before. Politicians. Celebrities. Once, the son of a pharmaceutical CEO who'd overdosed, and whose family paid extra for discretion. But this felt different. When the patient arrived, she understood why. 6 men in dark suits. Earpieces. Bulges under their jackets that were definitely weapons. They moved with military precision, clearing the hallway, positioning themselves at every entrance. And in the center of this armed escort was a man on a gurney, conscious, bleeding, and somehow still commanding the room. Or 3 is ready, Yuna said, falling into professional mode. How long ago was he shot? 40 minutes, one of the guards said in Korean. His hand never left his weapon. He refused treatment until we got here. Foolish, Yuna muttered, moving to assess the wound. Blood loss, potential nerve damage, infection risk. I'm right here, the patient said. His voice was surprisingly steady. And I can hear you. Yuna looked at him properly for the first time. Early 30s. Sharp features. Expensive watch. The kind of presence that made people step back instinctively. Then you can hear me tell you that refusing immediate treatment was stupid, she said, checking his vitals. You're lucky the bullet didn't hit your subclavian artery. Another inch and you'd be dead. The guards shifted uncomfortably. Apparently, no one spoke to their boss like this. The patient stared at her. Then laughed. A short, surprised sound. "What's your name?" "Dr. Park. And we need to move. Now." They wheeled him into OR3. Yuna scrubbed in while her team prepped. The anesthesiologist looked nervous. The surgical nurse kept glancing at the armed men stationed outside the OR windows. "Focus," Yuna said calmly. "He's just another patient." Except he wasn't. When she examined the wound site, she realized the bullet had entered near his neck. The area needed to be shaved for proper access and closure. "I'll need to shave the surgical area," she told him. He'd refused general anesthesia. Insisted on local only. Said he needed to stay conscious. Control issues, Yuna thought. Typical alpha male nonsense. "You're shaving me?" he asked, that curious tone again. "If you move, I'll cut you." And that's when she noticed the gun. One of his men had placed it on the side table. Within his reach. Even wounded, even on her operating table, he kept his weapon close. Most surgeons would have refused to operate. Would have called security. Would have been afraid. Yuna just picked up the razor. "Your men can keep their guns," she said. "But if anyone interferes with this surgery, you'll bleed out before you can shoot me. Clear?" Silence. Then the patient spoke. "I like her." "Sir?" One of the guards started. "Everyone out. Except the medical team." "But—" "Out." The guards hesitated. Then obeyed. When they were alone, well, alone except for the anesthesiologist and nurse who were trying to become invisible, Yuna began. She leaned in close. Applied shaving cream. The scent was hospital standard, antiseptic, nothing romantic about it. But the moment her hand touched his skin, everything shifted. His breathing changed. Slowed. Deepened. His eyes tracked her every movement. "You have steady hands," he observed. 8 years of practice. "You're not afraid." "Should I be?" "Most people are." "Most people aren't holding a scalpel near your carotid artery," Yuna replied, her tone light but focused. "Mutual assured destruction. If you shoot me, I take you with me." He smiled again. That same surprised, intrigued smile. "What's your name?" he asked. "I already told you. Dr. Park." "Your first name." She finished shaving, wiped away the excess cream, and assessed her work. Perfect. Clean field. No nicks. "Yuna," she said finally. "Now stop talking and let me save your life." "Yuna," he repeated, like he was memorizing it. "My queen." She blinked. "Excuse me?" "Nothing. Just thinking out loud." Yuna shook her head and got to work. The surgery took 90 minutes. The bullet had lodged near the shoulder joint, missing major vessels by millimeters. She extracted it carefully, repaired the damage, closed in layers. Professional. Precise. Exactly as she'd been trained. But she felt his eyes on her the entire time. When she finished, when she stepped back and stripped off her gloves, he was still watching her. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You're welcome. Don't get shot again." "I'll try. And next time, don't wait 40 minutes to seek treatment. Machismo isn't worth dying for." He laughed. Winced. Laughed again. "I'll remember that. And I'll remember you." Something in his tone made Yuna pause. "You should rest. My team will monitor you overnight. If there's no infection or complications, you can leave tomorrow." "When do I see you again?" "You don't. I'm off rotation after tonight." "That's unfortunate. For your health, maybe. For my sleep schedule, it's perfect." She walked out of the OR, exhausted, ready for her shift to end. Behind her, the man on the table, whose name she still didn't know, watched her go. And made a decision. What Yuna didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that the moment she touched him, something fundamental shifted in Kang Min-jae's understanding of himself. Min-jae had been untouchable for 15 years. Not metaphorically. Literally. He'd built his empire on fear. On distance. On making sure no one ever got close enough to exploit weakness. People who touched him did so with trembling hands. With fear. With calculation. Doctors treated him like a bomb that might explode. Women touched him with desire mixed with terror. His own men maintained careful physical distance unless explicitly ordered otherwise. But this woman, this surgeon with tired eyes and steady hands, had touched him like he was just another patient. No fear. No desire. Just clinical competence. She'd leaned over him, close enough that he could count her eyelashes. Close enough to see the small scar on her chin. Close enough to smell her shampoo, something floral, probably cheap, definitely not chosen to impress anyone. And when her fingers brushed his jaw to position his head, when she applied the shaving cream with impersonal efficiency, when the razor scraped against his skin with absolute confidence. His heart rate had spiked. The monitors caught it. The anesthesiologist noticed, checking for pain response. But it wasn't pain. It was something Min-jae hadn't felt in so long he'd forgotten the sensation. Vulnerability. And he didn't hate it. He should have. Vulnerability meant weakness. Weakness meant death in his world. But when Yuna had leaned back, assessed her work with a critical eye, and said, "Perfect. Now stop talking and let me save your life," treating him like he was an inconvenience rather than a threat, Min-jae had felt seen. Not as the boss. Not as the feared leader of Seoul's most powerful criminal organization. Just as a man. Who'd been shot. Who needed help. It should have been nothing. A medical procedure. A necessary preparation for surgery. But Min-jae hadn't been touched with kindness, real, uncomplicated kindness, since his mother died when he was 12. And now this woman, this exhausted surgeon who couldn't care less about his power or his money or his reputation, had given him 90 minutes of being human. She'd scolded him for waiting too long to seek treatment. She'd rolled her eyes at his questions. She'd called machismo. Not worth dying for. Like he was a foolish teenager instead of a man who controlled half of Seoul's underground. And when she'd finished, when she'd saved his life with those steady, fearless hands, she'd walked away without asking for anything. No number. No gratitude. No acknowledgement that something significant had happened. To her, he was just another patient. To him, she'd become an obsession. Min-jae discharged himself 12 hours later, against medical advice. His men had prepared a private room. Security on every floor. Discreet. Safe. But Min-jae wanted to leave. Because Yuna had said she was off rotation. And he needed to know when she'd be back. Find out everything about Dr. Park, Yuna. He told his right-hand man, Tae-sung, in the car. Where she lives. Her schedule. Her habits. Everything. Tae-sung hesitated. Boss, is that wise? She's a civilian. Getting involved with her could. I'm not asking for advice. I'm giving orders. Yes, sir. By that evening, Min-jae had a complete file. Park Yuna. 32 years old. Trauma surgeon. Top of her class at Seoul National University Medical School. No family, orphaned at 15. No boyfriend. No social media presence. Lived in a modest apartment in Maple-gu. Worked brutal hours. Spent her rare free time at a small cafe near the hospital. She was exactly what she appeared to be, a dedicated surgeon who'd built her life around saving people. Min-jae studied her photo, a staff ID picture where she looked serious and slightly annoyed at having to pose. My queen, he murmured. Tae-sung, standing nearby, cleared his throat. Sir? Nothing. But it wasn't nothing. Min-jae had spent 15 years avoiding attachment. Had built walls so high that even his closest associates kept emotional distance. And now he was completely fixated on a woman who'd spent 90 minutes treating him like an inconvenient patient. It was ridiculous. It was dangerous. It was inevitable. 3 days later, flowers arrived at the hospital. Not a small bouquet. an elaborate arrangement of white lilies and blue hydrangeas that took up half the nurse's station. The card read, "Thank you for your steady hands. A grateful patient." Yuna stared at it, confused. "Someone's got an admirer," Mrs. Kim said with a smile. "Must have been quite the surgery." "I do 12 surgeries a week," Yuna replied. Could be any of them. But she knew. Somehow she knew. The expensive flowers. The cryptic message. The timing. It was him. The VIP patient with the bullet wound and the strange intensity. She should have been flattered. Instead, she felt uneasy. The next day, a box arrived. Expensive chocolates from a boutique in Gangnam. The day after that, a gift certificate to the cafe she frequented. For an absurd amount, enough to buy coffee for a year. "This is getting excessive," Yuna muttered, staring at the latest delivery. Mrs. Kim laughed. "Most women would be thrilled. Most women don't work 80-hour weeks and value sleep over romance." But the gifts kept coming. Always tasteful. Never creepy. Just persistent. And always with the same signature. A grateful patient. 2 weeks after the surgery, Yuna was leaving the hospital at 2 a.m. after an emergency splenectomy when she saw the car. Black. Expensive. Tinted windows. Parked in the doctor's lot like it belonged there. The window rolled down. Min-jae sat in the back seat, his shoulder clearly healed, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. "Dr. Park," he said pleasantly. "May I offer you a ride home?" Yuna stopped. "How did you know when my shift ended?" I asked. "That's called stalking. I prefer persistent interest. I prefer restraining order." He smiled. That same intrigued smile from the oar. "You're not actually afraid, are you?" "Should I be?" "No. Never. I would never hurt you." "That's what everyone says before they hurt someone." "Fair point," Min-jae conceded. "But I'm not everyone. And I truly just want to thank you properly." "Coffee? Dinner? A conversation that doesn't involve me bleeding on your operating table?" Yuna studied him. He looked different without blood loss and pain. More dangerous. More focused. "Why?" she asked. "Why what? Why all of this? The flowers, the gifts, the stalking, sorry, persistent interest. I saved your life. That's my job. You don't owe me anything beyond the hospital bill." Min-jae considered her question seriously. "You called me foolish. You were foolish. 40 minutes is an absurd wait time for a GSW. No one calls me foolish. No one scolds me. No one treats me like—" He paused. "Like I'm normal. You're a patient. Patients get scolded when they make bad decisions." "Exactly," Min-jae said. "You treated me like I was just another person. Not a threat. Not an opportunity. Just someone who needed help." Yuna's expression softened slightly. "That's literally my job description." "Maybe. But you have no idea how rare that is in my world." Something in his voice made Yuna pause. Made her see past the expensive suit and the intimidating presence to something lonely underneath. "One coffee," she said finally. "Public place. 30 minutes. Then you stop sending gifts and learn what healthy boundaries look like." Min-jae's smile was genuine. "Deal." The coffee turned into 2 hours. Yuna learned his name. His legitimate business holdings, real estate, imports, technology investments. He was careful about what he revealed, but she could read between the lines. Organized crime. High level. Dangerous. She should have run. Instead, she found herself laughing at his dry humor. His observations about human nature. His surprising knowledge of classical music. "You don't fit the profile," she said finally. "What profile?" "Violent criminal." "Who said I was violent?" "The bullet wound. The armed guards. The way people react to your name when I mention it." Min-jae didn't deny it. "I operate in gray areas. Sometimes they turn dark. But I don't hurt innocent people. That's a low bar." It's the bar I've set. They talked about her work, her years in medical school, the reasons she chose trauma surgery. I like fixing things that are broken, she said. Clear problems. Clear solutions. You stop the bleeding, repair the damage, close the wound. It's satisfying. Must be nice, Min-jae said. Having clear solutions. You don't? My problems are rarely fixable with sutures and antibiotics. When they finally left the cafe, Min-jae walked her to her car. Thank you for this, he said. The conversation. The honesty. You're welcome. Now please stop sending gifts. I can't promise that, Min-jae. But I'll tone it down. More reasonable. Less excessive. That's not. Good night, my queen. Yuna stopped. What did you just call me? Min-jae realized his slip. Nothing. Just. You called me my queen. You said it in the or too. I thought I misheard. He could have denied it. Should have denied it. Instead, he told the truth. It's what I call you. In my head. The woman who saved the king without bowing to him. Yuna stared at him. That's incredibly presumptuous. I know. And weirdly possessive. Also true. We've had one coffee. Yes. You can't just decide someone is yours. I'm not deciding anything, Min-jae said quietly. I'm just being honest about how I feel. Yuna should have shut this down. Should have been clear that this, whatever this was, couldn't happen. But something in his eyes stopped her. Vulnerability. Real, genuine vulnerability from a man who probably never showed it. I need to go, she said finally. Okay. And you need to process whatever this is. Because I'm not interested in being someone's obsession. Understood. She got in her car. Drove away. In her rearview mirror, she saw him standing there, watching her leave. And despite everything, despite all the red flags and warning signs, she felt something shift in her chest. Interest. Dangerous, complicated, absolutely inadvisable interest. The gifts stopped being excessive. They became thoughtful. A book she'd mentioned wanting to read. High-quality compression socks for her long shifts, practical, not romantic, but somehow more meaningful because of it. A donation to the hospital's trauma fund in her name. And every week, Min-jae would be at the cafe. Not pushy. Not demanding. Just there. Reading. Working on his laptop. Drinking coffee. Available if she wanted company. Absent if she didn't. It should have been creepy. Somehow it wasn't. Because he never pressured her. Never showed up at her apartment. Never used his resources to invade her privacy beyond that initial research. He just made himself available and let her decide. After 3 weeks, Yuna sat down at his table. You're persistent, she said. I prefer patient. You've been here every time I've come here for 3 weeks. I enjoy this cafe. You didn't know it existed before you researched me. Now I do. And I genuinely like it. Yuna studied him. He looked tired. A fresh cut on his jaw. Business hadn't been kind recently. You're hurt, she said, professional instinct kicking in. Minor disagreement. It's handled. Let me see. Before Min-jae could protest, Yuna had moved to his side of the table, tilting his face to examine the cut. Her fingers were gentle. Professional. Exactly like in the ore. And Min-jae's heart did that same stupid thing it had done before. Raced. Stuttered. Betrayed him completely. It's superficial, Yuna said. But you should clean it properly. It could scar. I have many scars. One more won't matter. All the more reason to prevent unnecessary ones. She sat back down. Looked at him seriously. Why me? She asked. Honestly. You could have anyone. Beautiful women. Sophisticated women. Women who understand your world. Because you don't care about any of that, Min-jae said. You care about stopping bleeding. Saving lives. Doing good work. You're not impressed by money or power. You're just real. Plenty of people are real. Not in my world. In my world, everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. But you treated me like I was an inconvenient patient who made poor decisions. You scolded me. You didn't even try to impress me. Why would I try to impress someone who's bleeding on my table? Exactly, Min-jae said. That's exactly why. Yuna didn't have a response to that. So she did something impulsive. Something out of character. She stayed. They talked for 2 hours. About everything. About nothing. And when she finally left, when Min-jae walked her to her car again, she didn't protest. She just smiled. Same time next week? She asked. I'll be here. I know you will. And that's when Yuna realized she was in trouble. Because she was starting to look forward to it. 3 months into their careful, undefined relationship, reality crashed in. Yuna was reviewing charts when Mrs. Kim approached, her expression serious. Dr. Park, there's someone asking about you. A patient? A reporter. They're asking about your connection to Kang Min-jae. Yuna's blood ran cold. What? Apparently someone saw you together. Multiple times. They're asking if you're his girlfriend. If the hospital knows about your association. Yuna felt the walls closing in. We're not, it's just coffee. I'm not judging, Mrs. Kim said gently. But you should know who he is. Really know. Not just what he's told you. That night Yuna did what she should have done months ago. She researched. And what she found terrified her. Kang Min-jae wasn't just involved in organized crime. He ran one of Seoul's most powerful syndicates. The articles were careful, libel laws and lack of evidence, but the implications were clear. Violence. Intimidation. Control. People who crossed him disappeared. Businesses that didn't cooperate burned. Competitors ended up in hospitals or worse. He was everything she stood against. Everything she spent her life fighting, the violence, the cruelty, the disregard for human life. And she'd been having coffee with him for 3 months. When Min-jae showed up at the cafe the next day, Yuna didn't sit down. We can't do this anymore, she said. He looked up surprised. What happened? I know who you are. Really know. Not the version you've been showing me. Min-jae's expression closed. I never lied to you. You didn't tell me the truth either. You didn't ask. I shouldn't have to ask if the person I'm spending time with is a criminal. Keep your voice down, Min-jae said, not a threat, just pragmatic. This conversation endangers you. I'm already endangered. A reporter showed up at my hospital. Asking about us. About whether I'm your girlfriend. Min-jae's jaw tightened. Give me their name. I'll handle it. See? That right there is the problem. You'll handle it. What does that mean? Threaten them? Hurt them? It means I'll make sure they leave you alone. Through violence? Through whatever means necessary. Yuna stepped back. I can't be part of this. I save lives. You destroy them. That's not fair, Min-jae said quietly. Isn't it? How many people have been hurt because of you? How many families destroyed? How many lives ruined? More than I can count, Min-jae admitted. But also more than have been saved because of the order I maintain. The wars I prevent. The worst people I keep in check. That's justification, not morality. I'm not claiming to be moral. I'm claiming to be necessary. They stared at each other. I can't do this, Yuna repeated. I can't be with someone whose world is built on violence. Then don't be with me, Min-jae said. But don't pretend you haven't felt what I felt. Don't act like the last 3 months meant nothing. They meant everything, Yuna whispered. That's why this hurts. She turned to leave. Yuna. She stopped but didn't turn around. If you walk away now, Min-jae said, I'll respect it. I'll stay away. I'll make sure no reporters bother you. I'll disappear from your life completely. But I need you to be sure. Because once you leave, I won't come back. I won't chase. I won't try to change your mind. Yuna's hands were shaking. I'm sure, she said, and walked away. If you're still watching, drop a still watching in the comments, because this next part changes everything. Min-jae kept his word. He disappeared. No more gifts. No more chance encounters. No more presents at the cafe. Yuna told herself this was what she wanted. What she needed. But she felt his absence like a wound. She threw herself into work. Double shifts. Extra surgeries. Anything to stop thinking about gray eyes and steady presence. Mrs. Kim noticed. You're working yourself to death. I'm fine. You're not. And it's okay to miss him. I don't miss him. I barely knew him. You knew him enough to hurt like this. Yuna wanted to argue. Wanted to insist she'd made the right choice. But late at night, when she couldn't sleep, she thought about Min-jae. About the way he'd looked at her. The way he'd listened. The way he'd been so carefully, deliberately present. And she wondered if she'd made a mistake. 6 weeks after their confrontation, Yuna was working late when hospital security called. Dr. Park, there's been an incident. Multiple trauma victims incoming. GSWs, gang violence. Her heart sank. How many? 4 confirmed. Maybe more. The victims arrived in waves. Young men. Barely 20. Bleeding. Dying. Yuna worked mechanically. Triage. Surgery. Next patient. Don't think. Just act. But in the quiet moments between cases, she wondered. Was Min-jae involved in this? Had his order prevented worse? Or caused it? She was closing her 4th surgery when one of the gang members, barely conscious, high on adrenaline and fear, grabbed her wrist. You're her, he slurred. The boss's woman. Yuna froze. I don't know what you're talking about. Kang Min-jae. You're his. Everyone knows. That's why you're untouchable. I'm not. Lucky you, the young man said bitterly. Being protected by a monster. Yuna finished the surgery in silence. The next day, she did something she'd sworn she wouldn't do. She went to the cafe. Min-jae wasn't there. She waited for 2 hours. Nothing. She went back the next day. And the next. And the next. Still nothing. On the 5th day, Mrs. Kim pulled her aside. If you're looking for him, just call. I don't have his number. Yes, you do. He left it with me. 6 weeks ago. Said if you ever needed him, to give you this. She handed Yuna a card. Just a phone number. Nothing else. Yuna stared at it. Then she called. He answered on the first ring. Yuna. Just her name. But the weight of it, the hope, the restraint, the careful neutrality, said everything. I want to talk, she said. Okay. Not at the cafe. Somewhere private. My office. I'll send a car. No. Neutral ground. The hospital gardens. 1 hour. I'll be there. Min-jae arrived exactly on time. He looked thinner. Tired. Like he'd been working too hard and sleeping too little. Like he'd been hurting. Thank you for meeting me, Yuna said. Always. They walked in silence for a moment. A patient called me the boss's woman, Yuna said finally. Said I was untouchable because of you. You are. I didn't ask for that. I know. But the moment we were seen together, it happened automatically. In my world, anyone close to me becomes an asset. Or a target. I made sure you were the former. By making me your woman? Without asking? By making it clear that harming you would result in immediate, severe consequences. Min-jae corrected. The label came from others. I just didn't contradict it. Yuna stopped walking. You should have asked? You're right. I'm sorry. That's it. Just sorry? What else can I say? That I was wrong? I was. That I should have consulted you? I should have. That I was so terrified of something happening to you that I made unilateral decisions about your safety? Yes. Guilty. His honesty disarmed her. I don't know how to do this, Yuna admitted. Be with someone like you. Live with the knowledge of what you do. Reconcile the man who sits with me at coffee with the man who runs a criminal empire. Neither do I, Min-jae said. I've never tried to be with someone like you. Someone good. Someone who saves instead of destroys. I don't know how to be what you deserve. What do I deserve? Better than me. They stood there, two people who wanted something they didn't know how to build. I miss you, Yuna whispered. I hate that I do. But I miss you. I miss you too, Min-jae said. Every day. Every moment. This is so complicated. Yes. It might not work. Probably not. We're from completely different worlds. Completely. Yuna looked up at him. But I want to try anyway. Min-jae's expression cracked. Relief. Hope. Fear. Are you sure? No. But I'm sure that walking away hurt more than trying ever could. I can't promise to be perfect. Or safe. Or anything close to what you deserve. I don't want perfect, Yuna said. I just want honest. I can do honest. Then be honest now. Why me? Really? Not the romantic version. The real reason? Min-jae took a breath. Because you touched me without flinching. I don't understand, Yuna said. I know, Min-jae replied. But I need you to understand. Because if we're doing this, if you're really giving this a chance, you need to know the truth. They sat on a bench overlooking the hospital gardens. I became what I am when I was 17, Min-jae began. My father ran the organization. He was grooming me to take over. One night, rivals came for him. They killed him in front of me. Would have killed me too, but I fought back. Killed 3 men before I was old enough to vote. Yuna listened, her hand finding his. After that, I wasn't allowed to be weak. Wasn't allowed to be vulnerable. Had to be harder, colder, more ruthless than everyone else. Because the moment I showed softness, I'd be dead. That's a terrible way to live. It's the only way I know. Min-jae stared at their joined hands. For 15 years, no one touched me without fear or calculation. Doctors treated me like I might explode. Women touched me because they wanted something, money, status, protection. My own men maintained distance unless ordered otherwise. That's lonely, Yuna said quietly. I didn't know how lonely until you. He turned to face her fully. You leaned over me in that or touched my face to position it. Shaved me with absolute competence and zero fear. Scolded me for making stupid decisions. And the entire time, you treated me like I was just a patient. Not the boss. Not a monster. Just a man who'd been shot and needed help. Because that's what you were, Yuna said. Exactly. And I haven't felt that, haven't felt seen as human instead of dangerous, since my mother died when I was 12. Understanding dawned in Yuna's eyes. The shaving wasn't the trigger, she said slowly. It was that I didn't flinch. Yes. I wasn't afraid of you. No. And you should have been. You should have refused. Called security. Demanded armed guards leave. Done anything except treat me like I was normal. But I did treat you normally. And that's why I couldn't let you go. They sat in silence. This isn't healthy, Yuna said finally. Fixating on someone because they showed you basic human decency. I know. You need therapy, not a relationship. Probably. This is going to be complicated and difficult and possibly disastrous. Almost certainly. So why am I still sitting here? Min-jae smiled sadly. Because you're lonely too. Different reasons. But you understand what it means to live behind walls. To protect yourself so thoroughly that no one gets close. You do it with work. I do it with fear. But we both do it. He was right. Yuna knew he was right. She'd spent years building her career, her competence, her reputation. Had kept relationships surface level. Had told herself it was because of her schedule, her dedication. But really, it was because she was afraid. Afraid of losing people. Afraid of being vulnerable. Afraid of caring too much. What if this doesn't work? She asked. Then at least we tried. What if I can't handle your world? Then we figure out boundaries. What I share. What I keep separate. What if people get hurt because of us? I'll make sure they don't. You'll be protected. Always. I don't want to be protected. I want to be partnered. Min-jae squeezed her hand. Then that's what we'll build. Slowly. Carefully. With complete honesty. Starting now? Starting now. Okay. First honest thing, your world terrifies me. Second honest thing, you terrify me more. Yuna laughed. Actually laughed. How do I terrify you? Because you make me want things I can't have. A normal life. A safe existence. The ability to be vulnerable without it being a death sentence. Maybe you can have those things. Not in my world. Then maybe we build a new world. Just for us. Separate from everything else. Min-jae looked at her with something like wonder. You'd do that? I'd try. Why? Because when I walked away, when I tried to convince myself this was wrong, I couldn't stop thinking about one thing. What? The way you looked at me in that or. Like I was saving your life and giving you something else entirely. Hope maybe. Or just a moment of being human. You did. Then let me keep doing that. Not as your surgeon. As someone who wants to know you. Really know you. Not the boss. Not the feared leader. Just Min-jae. Just Min-jae doesn't exist. Then we'll create him. Together. They took it slow. Painfully, deliberately slow. Coffee once a week. Conversations about everything except his work. Carefully maintained boundaries. Yuna didn't ask what he did. Min-jae didn't volunteer. Instead, they talked about books. Music. Childhood memories that didn't involve violence. They learned each other. Min-jae discovered that Yuna cried during surgery sometimes. Not from sadness, but from the relief when someone survived against impossible odds. Yuna discovered that Min-jae played piano. Beautifully. Had studied classical music as a child before his father died. Play for me, she asked one evening, 6 months into their careful rebuilding. They were at his apartment, the first time she'd visited. She'd expected something cold. Intimidating. Instead, it was warm. Filled with books. A grand piano by the window. Min-jae sat at the piano and played Chopin. Nocturne in E-flat major. Yuna stood by the window, listening, watching his hands move across the keys with the same precision she used in surgery. When he finished, she walked over and kissed him. Not passionate. Just soft. Grateful. Real. Thank you, she said. For what? For showing me this part of you. There's more. If you want to see it. I do. They spent the night talking. Just talking. About fears and hopes and the terrifying vulnerability of letting someone in. I'm falling in love with you, Min-jae admitted as dawn broke over Seoul. Yuna looked at him, this dangerous man who'd become gentle in her presence. I'm already there, she replied. It wasn't perfect. There were still complications. Boundaries. Moments when his world and hers collided uncomfortably. But they navigated it. With honesty. With patience. With the understanding that love between two people from different worlds required constant, careful work. And slowly, impossibly, it worked. 1 year after the surgery that started everything, Yuna woke up in Min-jae's apartment. Sunlight streamed through the windows. He was already awake, watching her with that same intense focus from the oar. You're staring, she mumbled. I'm memorizing. Creepy. Romantic. Debatable. He smiled. Pulled her closer. I need to tell you something. Min-jae said. That sounds ominous. It's not. Or maybe it is. I haven't decided. Yuna propped herself up on one elbow. Just say it. I'm stepping back. From the organization. Not leaving entirely, that's not possible. But I'm delegating. Reducing my involvement. Creating distance. Yuna's heart stuttered. Why? Because I want a life with you. A real life. Not stolen moments between violence. Not carefully maintained separation. I want mornings like this. Normal days. The possibility of a future that doesn't end in blood. Min-jae. I know it won't be perfect. I know I can't completely leave. But I can create space. For us. For whatever this becomes. Yuna felt tears on her face. That's the most romantic thing anyone has ever done for me. It's also the most selfish. How is it selfish? Because I'm doing it for me as much as for you. Because being with you has shown me what I've been missing. And I can't go back to just existing. I want to live. They held each other as the sun rose over Seoul. And Yuna thought about the question she'd been asking herself for a year. Was this love? Or was it obsession that learned patience? Fixation that grew into something real? Maybe it was both. Maybe love and obsession weren't as different as people pretended. Maybe the line between them was just time and choice and the daily decision to choose someone. Not because they saved you, but because they saw you. Really saw you. And didn't flinch. If you made it this far, thank you, seriously. That tells me these stories matter to you. Here's what I want to know. Is it love when someone becomes obsessed with you because you showed them kindness? Or is obsession just love that hasn't learned patience yet? Comment love if you think they found something real. Comment obsession if you think Min-jae never moved past that first moment. Where are you watching from? Have you ever had someone fixate on one moment with you and build an entire feeling around it? If you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. It's how this channel survives, and it means more than you think. Next week, she married her sister's fiancé to save the family business. But on the wedding night, he asked one question that changed everything. Why do you smell like her? Until then, remember, sometimes obsession is just love that started with being seen. And sometimes being seen is all it takes to change everything.